Hey guys, I'm back for another video. Today we are gonna react to something called Why Skylanders Died. You might think, what is Skylanders? It's a game, so this is nothing to do. It's my childhood. I played this on the PS3. It's a PS3 game, PS4 game. Yeah, I don't know if we also, and like more consoles, but you will get it. I think it would explain. This was made by Robocast, so shout out him. There's more like Simpsons. There's Little Sack, but it's gonna be Skylanders. Like there's a lot. He does a great job on this video. So let's tune in.
Skylanders was a groundbreaking game that broke into the industry seemingly overnight. Complete with a flood of collectible characters and a concept unlike no other, Skylanders was proudly held as one of Activision's greatest franchises. But after only 6 years, the series has quietly vanished from the public along with most of its competition. Were these games just a fad that got too large for its own good, or was there something else at play? What happened to Skylanders? Well, the story starts a long time ago in 1989.
So I'm gonna explain what Skylanders is, kinda. So it's like a game, and you have to buy characters and like a boxy thing, you can say, and then you connect everything. But then you put the creature you have on the boxy thing, and it spawns in the game. And there's like very different ones, and you need to switch them up. So you need to buy a lot of them. I have like 28 or something. Yeah, don't ask.
Around this time, a company called Toys for Bob was established by Paul Reach and Fred Ford, a couple of young friends who had worked in the gaming industry for years prior. Their first title was 1990's Star Control, published by Accolade. Initially, it only released for the Amiga and MS-DOS, but was ported to the Sega Mega Drive and other systems a year later, ultimately turning out to be a success with 120,000 copies sold and
Not bad for a game like this. If you saw this on Steam right now, you wouldn't buy it. That's a good
the
thing.
creation of a sequel. Star Control 2 expanded on the original and was a smash hit, winning numerous awards, having glowing reviews, and still appearing on game journalists' list of best games of all time, even today. But despite the success, Toys for Bob wasn't interested in developing a third game, and eventually released the game as open source so fans could port it to modern devices on their own accord. The studio made some other unique titles over the years, such as The Horde, Pandemonium, and The Unholy War. In short, Toys for Bob was quickly becoming
So they were like already a big company. They were already like doing some big games before Skylander was a thing even.
a well-established game development studio, and things were going relatively well. But the team at Toys for Bob wanted more, and the lucrative business of licensed games started to catch their attention. They needed more than just another modest success to keep the studio afloat, so they struck a deal and got to work on Disney's 102
This is one of most. This is a famous game actually. I know this game, but I never played.
Dalmatians, Puppies to the Rescue. Following this, they worked on 2003's Disney Extreme Skate Adventure and 2005's Madagascar the Game. Their last two titles were developed in collaboration with Activision, so when the company courted Toys for Bob, they were interested. This led to Activision's buyout of Toys for Bob in 2005 for an undisclosed amount, allowing them to comfortably continue developing licensed titles. While we all know the unfortunate way that things go when a company gets acquired by Activision, this acquisition was actually a great learning opportunity for the studio, and it expanded their resources greatly. Their time developing licensed titles taught them how to design games for children, but only a few years after the acquisition, the licensed game craze had finally dried up. And suddenly, Toys for Bob needed something new to convince the higher-ups at Activision that this acquisition was worth it. A character designer at Toys for Bob, Yi Wong, made toys as a hobby, such as this hamster.
And that's how they made the Skylanders creatures. This looks. What is this supposed to be even? What the fuck?
Powered Walker. During a brainstorming session at Toys for Bob, someone pitched the idea of incorporating toy figures into a video game. Wong went to the laboratory to see what he could do, and he kept returning to concepts of monster-like characters, which the rest of the team adored. Now, he had to figure out the matter of how to interface these toys with a video game. And fortunately for the team, another employee, Robert Leyland, enjoyed tinkering with electronics. So, while searching for ways to utilize Yi Wang's work, Leyland created what would later become the Power Portal with RFID.
That's what I mean. Power portal, and then it scans like your thing, and it comes in the game. That's what I meant at the beginning already. And bro, that's absolutely like even now it's really modern. Like back then, that was a new thing, like modern ass shit. Now it still blows my mind. Like still got me on there. I still play it.
technology. The team didn't know it yet, but they had just conceptualized their smash hit. While all of this was going on, Activision underwent some major changes in 2008 as it and Vivendi merged into Activision Blizzard. This led them to acquiring IPs like World of Warcraft, Crash Bandicoot, and Spyro. As a result, they let Toys for Bob pick a franchise that they wanted to work on for their next title. So, for 6 months, the studio shifted their focus away from this new toy project to a new Spyro game, attempting an edgier take on the franchise. But unfortunately, it wasn't working well, and the team felt it just wasn't Spyro. As they went back to the drawing board, Activision encouraged the studio to try something more unique and innovative. So, they revisited the idea of toys coming to life in a game and decided to incorporate Spyro into their original toy project as a way to pitch the idea to Activision. With that, Skylanders was greenlit and Activision was ready to turn this dream into a reality. Fortunately for Toys for Bob, Guitar Hero's success helped establish the supply lines needed to create the millions of toys necessary for something like Skylanders. The same Guitar Hero that I talked about in a previous video, which will be linked in the description. Anyways, things just aligned perfectly for this project to come to fruition. Around the same time as the Guitar Hero supply chains were allowed,
I have that guy. His arm is broken because I was a little kid, so like a little piece of his arm is broken off. All right. Why was I like that? I broke many shit, bro.
these toys to be produced at scale, the cost of RFID technology was drastically decreasing. Plus, Activision's connections enabled them to secure Hans Zimmer to write the main theme for the game, and Toy Story's writers, Alec Sokolow and Joel Cohen, to write the story. But even with all of these perfect circumstances, the project was incredibly ambitious, and corners would inevitably have to be cut to meet the deadlines. At least, that's what the team suspected. As we all know, large game publishers are notorious for cutting costs and forcing developers to do double the work with less money and harder deadlines. They always needed more. But oddly enough, when the team at Toys for Bob presented the game to Activision, something completely unexpected happened. For perhaps the first time in corporate history, the CEO of Activision was the first person to insist that they spend another year of development on the project. Toys for Bob couldn't have gotten better news. Not only did this decision result in cheaper
That makes a lot better. Like that means the graphics can be better, and it could work better. Like no glitches.
products, but it allowed for additional functionalities to be added to the toys. Instead of
I
just
I said that.
reading data, the Portal of Power could now write data, allowing the toys to carry information between devices. Now, your Skylanders would retain their upgrades at a friend's house, whereas before, your figures were functionally identical to a newly store-bought one. It personalized your toy collection in a way that no other game had ever done before. But how is the public going to respond to something so unique and different like Skylanders? I like it when things feel different in gaming, especially when a game goes above and beyond to release updates that truly stand out. I've been a longtime fan of Techland, the developers of Dying Light 2,
We're not getting no sponsors around here, boy. No sponsors.
going to respond to its launch. The answer came on October 13th, 2011, where the game was met with open arms and wallets. Skylanders was presented as an action RPG with
On the Wii.
platforming elements, with the gimmick being its large cast of playable characters. Each character could only be played if you owned the corresponding toy figure. When you wanted to play as them, you would take the figure and place it on the Portal of Power that comes with the game. This changes your character on the go at any time, with each of them having unique skills and upgrades to unlock. The game featured a variety of puzzles, such as the tilt lock puzzles, although the emphasis was generally placed on combat and exploration. In all, the first game featured 32 different Skylanders. You started with 3 when buying the game. At launch, each figure could be bought for $8 individually or 3 together for $20.
That's not a bad price back then. Now they don't find these anymore. But they go still for like $5 because nobody remembers them. So But that's a good price.
So it took over $180 to buy all of the characters in addition to the $70 game without even
Yeah, like people give Pokemons that are $180 so you can buy the whole stack of it. So, like, what?
including extra add-ons or special editions of the figures. There was also one of 8 elements associated with each Skylander, with the mechanic functioning similar to Pokemon types. So, if you didn't have at least one Skylander of each element, certain sections of the game would be a bit more difficult, encouraging players to purchase more than just these starting Skylanders. Because of these factors, every entry of the franchise was met with a great deal of criticism, as it was essentially employing physical DLC that targeted children with pay-to-play elements, and a lot of it at that. You can see this at a glance by comparing the ratio of Skylanders' negative reviews on Metacritic with other franchises, as a third of the user reviews were negative. The quality and innovation didn't matter to many when the series was so aggressively monetized. But for Activision, Skylanders was a cash cow. In only a few months, over 30 million toys were sold,
One booklet in a month?
making it the #1 action figure line at the time, and Activision's most successful IP launch at the time. So of course, a year later, on October 17th, 2012, came Skylanders Giants.
That's the Skylander that I have. I love this one. It's the best of them all. I wanna be. Okay.
It was a sequel with a few new gimmicks, such as the new giant Skylanders with exclusive abilities, but overall, it was just more content to feed the demand and generate more revenue for Activision. The game added 16 completely new Skylanders.
Alright, let's see what I have around here. I got this one. I got this one. Oh wait, no, this one, this. I think it's this one or this one. This one. Then we got this one. This is my favorite. No, wait, this was my favorite, and I have this one. This, this one, this one, this one, this one, uh, this one. Of course, I just said it was my favorite. Let's go around it. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Oh no, wait, this one and this one. Then got this one. Oh no, it was this one. That's a lot of Skylanders, and I have everybody from each type, so let's go.
Half of them being the new Giants. And despite the fact that older Skylanders still worked with the sequel, the monetization became more aggressive when new versions of them were introduced in a Series 2 line, which were slightly stronger. A similar light glow line was also introduced that glowed in the dark and had an exclusive attack. In all, there were 24 of these special versions of existing Skylanders. The game reviewed slightly better among both critics and fans with its various improvements to the gameplay. Like the first game in the franchise, Giants proved to be another monstrous financial success, bringing in $195 million in a few months, with the franchise as a whole totaling to $500 million in sales.
That's great.
In little over a year of existence. I can't downplay the scale of the Skylanders franchise. These numbers are mind-blowing. So of course, Activision wanted more. But before the next entry in the franchise could come out, a new Toys to Life game was gearing up for a release, hoping to capitalize on the success that Skylanders saw and overthrow Activision for their #1 spot. The numbers were just too big.
Is it that from Disney?
So on August 18th, 2013, Disney Infinity would hit the shelves.
What did I say?
And it had the massive advantage of pre-existing Disney franchises to pull from. Of course, the game itself was met with wildly varying reviews. IGN gave it an 8.7 out of 10, praising the campaigns called playsets, the sandbox mode's expansive possibilities, and how much content was available with only the starter pack. On the other hand, Games Radar gave it a 2.5 out of 5, noting a plethora of bugs and glitches, and found that the playsets all suffered from a bloat of filler content. Still, even the harshest critics agreed that the toys were of good quality, which is one of the most important aspects of a Toys to Life game.
Come on, like Skylanders are much better made. Come on, and they look much better.
And like Skylanders, acquiring every collectible would cost players hundreds of dollars, with even more merchandise to come. The game itself managed to sell 294,000 copies in only 2 weeks. By the time the next Skylanders entry was released, Disney Infinity had sold over 1 million copies, not even counting toy sales. This was a relief to Disney, which spent $100 million making the game. Their
Bazarai.
gamble seemed to have paid off, and they believed it'd bring in over $1 billion before the next year's sequel released. But now, with 3 expensive Toy to Life games on the market and hundreds of potential toys available for purchase, how much longer could consumers keep up with such an expensive genre? On October 13th, 2013, Skylanders Swap Force released. This marked the first title in the bunny hopping development cycles, where Toys for Bob and Vicarious Visions would spend 2 years on each game, staggering the releases so that they still came out annually. Prior to Swap Force, Vicarious Visions had only been responsible for the ports of Skylanders games to other consoles, so this was the first time that they were in charge of directing the entire course of a title. And frankly, they hit it out of the park. The special mechanic of this entry revolved around Skylanders with interchangeable top and bottom halves, allowing players to create unique builds to play with. To many, this mechanic, in addition to strong level design, would make it the strongest entry of the series, with critics sharing the sentiment. They also mixed things up with the plot by introducing a new villain instead of relying solely on chaos from past entries. Of course, this entry was another gargantuan financial success, being the 6th most profitable game in the winter of 2013, with Giants being the 4th most profitable. At this point, the Skylanders franchise had generated over $2 billion in just 2 years, and it didn't seem like it was going to decline anytime soon. As great as this all was, however, a small crack in the franchise appeared in Swap Force. The Skystones minigame that was present in Giants was completely absent in this game. While
This is not even a bad minigame. I like it. What do you guys think? Do you like it? I like it.
not a significant issue by any means, this marked the first time that every prior mechanic couldn't return in a sequel, and this would become increasingly common as new gimmicks were introduced with each release. It was only a matter of time before the old would be left behind in favor of the new in sequels, potentially alienating fans who spent hundreds of dollars on toys that only worked in the old games. This frustrated fans, but it didn't stop Activision from continuing this rapidly evolving cycle. It was time for yet another Skylanders game. However, before the next year's annual Skylanders title could release, Nintendo announced a new product that was
Smash Bros. No, Amiibos.
in the works at E3 2014, Amiibo. This new Toys to Life title would coincide with the release of Super Smash Bros. 4, featuring some of the game's cast. And unlike other Toy to Life products, Nintendo generally provided small benefits in games so that players without the Amiibo toys wouldn't miss out on much. This also encouraged people to collect Amiibo for its own sake instead of doing it solely for the digital content in the games. And this strategy proved to be highly successful. So much so that the product became infamous for its constant shortages, rampant scalping, and poor communication from Nintendo. It was unclear if Nintendo was deliberately understocking products, if certain Amiibo were limited runs, or if other factors were halting production. But that didn't change the fact that they were raking in a lot of cash, putting even more pressure on Skylanders. Could Activision maintain their grip on the industry? Well, on October 2nd, 2014, Toys for Bob and Beanox released Skylanders Trap Team. This game was the newest in the series, and its new mechanic revolved around the Trapper Skylanders. They dealt extra damage against villains and could use traps to capture villains to play as if the player had a trap of the corresponding element. Basically, it was the same concept of the other games, with another new gimmick to get people to buy the new toys. This title did
This is where the company went down. Yeah.
managed to bring back quite a few beloved features from past entries, such as Sky Stones and tilting lock puzzles, and the Swap Force figures still functioned the same, but it was obvious that the level of innovation was decreasing with each and every release. Critics reviewed Skylanders Trap Team quite positively, with a general consensus that it was another height of the series, but the formula was really beginning to stagnate and in dire need of innovation. Regardless of any fatigue or the new competition from Disney Infinity, Activision claimed that Trap Team was still the 5th best-selling title of 2014 and the best-selling kids game of that entire year. The Skylanders franchise was still absolutely killing it for Activision. September 20th, 2015, Superchargers released, this time developed by Vicarious Visions. And for the first time ever, the newest entry to the Skylanders series was met with relatively low reception. As the name implies, the gimmick for this entry was the introduction of vehicles, which once again were a new collectible item, and once again, yet another toy that players needed to purchase in order to use in the games. This just felt odd because vehicles led to racing sections being added into something that was predominantly a combat action-oriented game. It seemed forced, and because of this, fans rated Superchargers lower than any other mainline
Yeah, you see that? That's cooked.
title to date. And to make matters worse, the annual releases finally caught up with the developers. Corners had to be cut somewhere, and this time they removed the playable villains that acted as the main selling point from the last title. So now, not only did you have to buy new vehicles for your Skylanders to use the new features, but you also could no longer use the traps that you went out of your way to buy to play the new feature added in the last game. Not to mention, other beloved features like the arena modes and Chaos Doom challenges also failed to return, alienating many fans even further. The series was clearly growing too quickly for its own good, and longtime fans of Skylanders were getting upset. And as for the sales figures, they had also finally begun to plummet. Activision didn't give exact numbers, but stated that Superchargers performed weaker than expected, citing greater competition in the Toys to Life genre. That competition was the newly released LEGO Dimensions, yet another Toys to Life
Lego Batman
game that left Superchargers and Disney Infinity 3.0 in the dust.
3.0, but we just talked about 2.0 or something like that. Why should I not talk about the 3.0? I want to see how if they get $1 billion in those sales.
Still, Dimensions failed to reach the same heights of the Skylanders' heyday. Was this a sign that the Toys to Life genre was finally drying up? That answer would come sooner rather than later, as on May 10, 2016, Disney announced that Avalanche Studios, the developer of Disney Infinity, would be shut down entirely and the entire franchise would be laid to rest. While it meant less competition for Skylanders and LEGO Dimensions, it didn't exactly bode well for them either. Then, on October 13th, 2016, Skylanders Imaginators hit the
This is the last Skylander that ever came out. I think it was.
shelves. This entry went back to Toys for Bob and revolved around the ability to create your own original Skylanders. And rather than creating figures to facilitate this, the parts could be earned in-game via randomized crates, with additional crates available for purchase. In other words, the game had loot boxes. IGN found the practice to be quite predatory, as it was possible to accidentally access the storefront when opening crates at the end of missions, pressuring kids to purchase more of them. This gear also didn't work on regular Skylanders, yet again limiting its usefulness and alienating players who spend hundreds of dollars on past toys. Overall, it felt like the pay-to-play elements were stronger than ever before, and the sales of the game were pitiful, only reaching 66,000 units in the first month. This would be the first time in the series that Activision didn't mention a Skylanders game in their winter quarterly report. And because of this financial flop and the declining interest in the Skylanders series, Activision decided not to release a sequel the following year, and Vicarious Visions, the other half of the Skylanders team, was quietly reassigned to work on Destiny. It seemed eerily similar to Activision's handling of the Guitar Hero franchise. Deny that the series was cancelled and insist that it's just a hiatus, despite the writing on the wall.
Damn, but like nowadays, people are really hooked up on Skylanders sometimes. So if they bring out a new game that's like the older ones but with newer graphics, I think it could be a bomb.
A Switch port of Imaginators released in March to coincide with the launch of the console, presumably to recoup losses and gauge series interest. But given that Activision's uneasy silence continued, it likely didn't succeed. When 2018's winter report rolled around, all mentions of Skylanders had been completely scrubbed, when in past years it was touted as one of their all-time greats. The message was clear. Activision was done with Skylanders. The final death blow of the Toys to Life genre came with the announcement of LEGO Dimensions canceling its Year 3 lineup on October 23, 2017. So at this point, Disney Infinity was cancelled, LEGO Dimensions was cancelled, and Skylanders faded into the background to never be mentioned again from Activision or anyone else involved. Skylanders suffered the same fate of many IPs under the hand of Activision, an oversaturated market. Each year introduced
Like if they stopped right, like about here, or even like here, and then more later on, like they did year after year after year after year. Like chill out, you're doing too much, and stop making stuff so expensive, or like, or when you buy the game, get them like from each element one character. You know what I mean? That it's much easier. The banana. Yeah.
a new mainline title, spin-offs, and dozens of expensive figurines. The later games failed.
Wait. Fucking Goku.
Year introduced a new mainline title, spin-offs, and
What the what the fuck? Goku Super Saiyan Blue.
dozens of expensive figurines. The later games failed to shake things up, and towards the end, you couldn't even guarantee the figures would work in the next game.
Hawk Rider.
Factoring in the competition from Disney Infinity, Amiibo, and LEGO Dimensions, at a time that the franchise was already starting to stagnate with fans, it's easy to see how players couldn't keep up. It not only led to the collapse of Skylanders, but the entire Toys to Life genre. The studio behind Skylanders, Toys for Bob, has gone to work on the Spyro Reignited trilogy, Crash Bandicoot 4, and Crash Team Rumble. In 2021, the CEOs and founders of the company, Fred Ford and Paul Reach, decided to leave the studio to go form Pistol Shrimp and finally create a sequel to Star Control 2. It's called Freestars Children of Infinity due to Accolade owning the rights to the name Star Control, and the game is still in development. It had a Kickstarter on April 16, 2024, asking for $100,000 and received over $680,000. Meanwhile, after Microsoft's buyout of Activision in February of 2024, 86 employees from Toys for Bob were laid off and the office was shut down. This prompted the studio to go indie a month later, where they're currently working on an unannounced title. The only remnant of the entire Toys to Life era in gaming are Amiibos, which are still going strong and are still as understocked as ever. Their strategy to focus.
Yeah, Amiibos are still going hard these days, bro. Like, I can still find them at stores in a low, like, there's like 3 left in a whole store of those. And there's like 4 shelves that say Amiibos. So you know they're still going hard on sale, man. Why did my audio cut off? Oh, bruh.
Served them well. Did you ever play any of the Skylanders games? What was your
Yes, I did. It was peak. It was the Giants, and I finished it in like a week because I was a little kid. And the how's it called? The like the ball. Where is my English? Wait, not the missions. Like when you are no. Wait, where's my English? Wait. What's the name? When you're doing like a quest, a mission, and then there's like extra stuff that you can go more forward. I was too stupid for that, so I was really bad at the game.
experience with them? Did you play the other titles like Disney Infinity or LEGO Dimensions?
No.
Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel, and
You heard him. Like and subscribe to his channel and my channel. Thank y'all for 85 subscribers. I love you guys. I support all of your support. Love the support that you guys give me. Shout out to RoboCast, and I will see. This is the end of the video, and I will see y'all in the next video.